Hey y'all, how's it going? I just recorded this whole video and messed it up, but that's not why you guys are here. You guys are here to see some dope art and hear me talk about our prompt today. I want to talk to you guys about going deep before you go wide, and I'll start with the trap that is going wide too early. A lot of creative people, they try everything at once. I'm guilty of it. I'm doing it right now. But I think focusing on that new project, trying to learn that new skill, working on some new idea on a new platform, I think while that might feel productive because there's always something exciting around the corner, I think the results kind of speak for themselves. You get a lot of half-finished work and you get really, really slow improvement. The problem isn't curiosity. I think that's a great thing. You always have to be curious. I think the problem is spreading your attention so thin that nothing gets enough time to grow. That it leads to the real question: what actually builds skill and momentum, right? Oh, here, before I get into that, I do want to introduce myself. Hi, they call me Pi if you don't know who I am. I'm building a game studio. It's called LessThanPi, the LessThanPi studio, and this art you see in the background is for a game called Your Class Rep. It's one of the more recent cards I made, remade. So hopefully by the end of this, you'll get to see what it looks like. But let's get into what you can do to get past that going wide early issue. What really builds skill is depth. I think what I've seen is that improvement happens when you stay with something for a long time, long enough to see what's under the surface. What I've found is the first layer is the basics. And I think just about everyone knows the basics after a few attempts. But I think the next layer, you start to see patterns. Patterns that only understanding that medium can show you. And as you get deeper still, you start to learn the nuance, why things can be different when they are. And you start to understand the decision-making process. You're not just copying anymore. You're not just studying. I think what everyone needs to understand is, and this is so important, and I could probably do a whole video on just this topic, but what's really important is understanding that it's time and repetition that are the real teachers. That's why someone who makes 10 versions is so much better than the person who made one, and why someone who did 100 is 10 times better than the person who did 10. Depth, I've found, depth is what creates identity. When you think of great artists and great designers, you think of a style attached to that person. And that's what I want people to think of when they look at you. Instead of being someone who tries lots of random things that don't attach to each other, I'd like you to become the person known for a specific style. I think the clarity of having one defined style, it makes it easy for people to understand what you do and why they should follow your project, and why they should feel confident that they'll get the result they expect. I think we fall into the trap, and maybe I'm self-projecting here, but I think we fall into the trap where we feel like showing the world that we can do everything makes us more valuable. But I think it's kind of the opposite. If you decide to focus on a single project, you can actually create a lot of different things through that, right? So for one idea, I'll take my project for example. And this is a lesson I'm teaching myself through creating these cards. I can show I can create tutorials out of these cards. I could make lessons. I could do videos like this one where I have time lapse and I'm talking about depth, right? And then I get to do fun things like development updates. And maybe I can even sell these cards. I mean, that's the end goal. So if I can do that with these, then imagine what you can do with your project, right? I'm sure it's way cooler than mine. Instead of chasing after new ideas and the new trends, and I'd say focus on your project and think of all the different ways you can show it, all the different perspectives and angles people can view it from, because there's definitely something there. I think I know depth forces you to identify problems that you can't see from the surface. I'll use pixel art as an example, and you may see this come up here as I'm working on the art. But being forced to use 4 colors, just the white, black, dark gray, light gray, I've been forced to come up with so many solutions to issues I didn't really know existed, right? With pixel art, and with this style of pixel art specifically, I've found out that local color changes what the value is. I don't think you'll see it in this piece, but like look at the violin, for example. The violin, your brain gives it a whole different color than it gives the character on the left. And in shadow, on a shadow side, if you imply shadow, then the values in the shadow become different than what they really are. I don't know if that's making sense. But just take my word for it. It's really cool once you spend some time on it. And again, that's something I never I understood it to a degree, but that's something that I wouldn't have found out if I hadn't invested a lot of time into learning this medium. Yeah. And I've seen other avenues in my life where this is the case. I used to play, I'm going on a tangent here, just bear with me, I'll come back to it. But when I used to play Super Smash Brothers competitively, there are so many different things I learned doing that frankly it blows my mind, how much overlap there was between that and even art. So yeah, I mean, going deep and trying to master your craft, you'll be forced into situations where creative decisions have to be interesting, they have to be innovative, and that's a skill that I think is very difficult to learn if you're approaching everything at a surface level. that's because depth builds a strong foundation. Going deep, it helps you develop tools and systems that you can use on other projects, like the Super Smash Brothers example. I learned, and this is going to sound crazy, but there are situations where there are no options for your opponent, and that's the best time to attack. And that's a skill that it's true in every path of life, right? You want to attack when the options are low. And here in art, I learned through art that perspective. It changes everything. Going deep helps you develop tools that here, I'll give some examples. Maybe it's a mechanic you design for one game that you can slide into another. Maybe it's a visual style you've created for your game, for your art. Storytelling. Maybe you've created a world that all your stories can take place in, or a character archetype that you can attach to a new character. It can be things as kind of removed from the final result, as like to workflow, or production, how you produce your art. Those things become easier. I think each project you do kind of strengthens the next one. You develop a foundation to build the next project from. And I think that's when you can go wide, right? Once you've really gone deep and gotten your roots down into the dirt, then you can transfer those skills and kind of stretch your branches out over those other areas. Plant some new trees, right? And the experience we talked about before, your storytelling. Now you have a root structure to grow from. Are these analogies making any sense? I don't know. I'm really curious how many times I've said deep. I don't know if anyone's counting, but I think I've said it a lot. I think I'd like to give you guys some examples of people who are known for. I'll give some examples of game designers that I think of. The first one that comes to mind is Sakurai. Sakurai makes games that are simple but deep, straight. Yeah, and maybe that's my obsession with this word. Big Sakurai guy. Sakurai's games are like 1-2 buttons sometimes, and through those 2 buttons you have a world of different actions your character can take at any given time, tons of different outcomes at any given situation, where other designers keep adding and adding and adding. Sakurai looks for things to take away to make the game accessible to new people, but very deep for people who want to invest that time to learn. I think of Miyamoto, the creator of Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, Pikmin, the man behind Star Fox. Miyamoto has, through his the way he designs games, he's literally created genres. I think the desire to find something new, innovative, and interesting is kind of core to Sakurai, but the root of it all is a desire to create something fun and new for the player. I think of Kojima, and how his games are like movies. These deep intellectual thrillers where you don't really know what's going to happen next. From Metal Gear Solid to his newest series, you can clearly see the overlaps, right? You think of the old Walt Disney, the old Pixar, the Miyazaki films. There's a through line for these creators as well. They're known for something. And when people seek out their work, they're confident they're going to get a product that they feel good about. Why can't that be you? I think it can't be if you continue to dibble and dabble in this and that instead of going all in on one thing and putting your foot down and saying, hey, this is me, this is who I am. And this is something I need to tell myself too, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm a little bit of a dabbler, not gonna lie. And I'm through this process, right? And you'll do the same. Through this process, I'm learning about myself, what I want the LessThanPi brand to be, what I want people to see when they look into my projects. So I guess we'll close with this. I want you guys to really, I'm gonna speed this up for you so you can see the end. I'm wrapping up, but I got something valuable to add, I think. I'll close with this idea. Be great, y'all. Y'all all have something to offer, and you won't find it on the surface. Find out where you want to start and go deep. Find out who you are. Find out what you have to offer. I don't think you can make a mistake in what you choose. And learn from it. In fact, do me a favor. If you've watched this far, put it in the comments for me. Where do you want to go deep? What skill do you want to master? And be specific. Don't say art. Don't say programming. What type of programming? What type of art? Are you a pixel artist? How many colors are you using? Who do you want to emulate? Be as specific as you can so that you can define a clear goal for yourself. And then give somebody 3 months dedicated to that project, to that style, to that passion you have. Give yourself 3 months and come back to this video, write down how much you've grown. Give yourself an hour a day. If you do an hour a day for 3 months, oh my goodness, you'll be amazing. It doesn't take a lot. It just takes faith in yourself. And I'll do the same. I'm going to come back to this video, or maybe I'll make a new video. That was today, the 11th. So let's see you again, June 11th. And we'll talk about what the future present is. How much you've grown, how much you produced, how much you've done. You know, let's brag on ourselves a little bit in a couple months. Look forward to you guys there. If you want to chit chat along the way there, Discord, lots of amazing artists, designers, creators there. We're all working hard to improve and be the best versions of ourselves. Please join us there. I'll put the link up right now because we're wrapping up. As always, guys, truly appreciate watching the video all the way through. Y'all are amazing. And I hope I can make some dope stuff for you in the future. More dope stuff. As always, guys, God bless. Be safe. Sorry I hit the mic there. I'll see you next time.